Let me ask you a question. Do you actually believe the product or the service that you're selling is absolutely the best? Meaning, if I give you a rating, 10 out of 10 is absolutely the best, anything less is less. Now give me a rating spontaneously, straight away. Rate your product right now or the service right now. What is that number? Is it 9 out of 10? Which means you have a little crack in your belief that you don't actually believe that this product or the service is absolutely the best. Now, if that's the case, I want you to watch this video in full. This is for you.
So, my name is Ramindu Randeni. I'm a leadership coach, I'm a business coach, and a sports performance coach. So, welcome to my channel.
First of all, let me congratulate you that at the time of this video, the entire world has gone through some crazy things that we have never heard or never experienced before. A pandemic, a global level pandemic that hit business of all kinds. So you as a salesman, you as a business owner, you as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you have been to the hell and back there during these last 3 years. So if you've been cracking on, if you've been cruising through, I must congratulate you. And here's the good news, guys. If you do well in harsh winter, you're gonna thrive in the summer. So take this next half an hour, next 15-20 minutes as a great gift for your efforts so far. So let's go to the fundamentals that you almost never heard in anywhere else in any other sales training. Okay, so let's go. Now, when you're training to sell the product, many corporates, or if you're even an entrepreneur, just a single business owner, what you focus is most of the time the strategy. What's the strategy? What's the strategy? What's the strategy to close this sale? What's the strategy to penetrate this market? But you have to do the other way around. You need to ask, what's the psychology? What's the psychology? Meaning, what's my psychology to go to this market or to meet this client? And what's the psychology of my client or of this market? And then formulate a strategy revolves around the two psychologies. So I'm going to focus on your psychology first. The first question I ask, would you believe your product is absolutely the best? The next one is, can you charge a premium for your product or service? Okay. Now, how you can test this, if you say you have a premium price for your product or service, will you sell this product to your spouse, to your parent, or your child, or your best friend without any discount? And if the answer is no, which means that we need to talk. Because if you don't believe that I should not be selling this product at original premium rate, which means you have some sort of a skepticism inside your head, thinking that this product is not actually worth that X figure that you have put. Now, this comes actually to a lot to do with your psychology and less to do with your product. Now, again, you should not get the in a very wrong mindset. I always say this whole thing that you need to accompany the product or the quality of the product all the time. Meaning, the people that I coach, I always say, work on your business on weekly basis. Work on your business. There's something called never-ending optimization. So this optimization, this tweaking the product or tweaking the service never ends. So once that in place, you should be able to go and sell your product aggressively at a premium rate without any doubt. But what holds you back is absolutely your psychology. And especially this part of the world, meaning the South Asia, we have a very distinctly unique problem. I'll give you an example why this psychology is important and why and how, with the gravity of this problem. Now, when a group of, they've done actually research from a university in the US, when Asian women go to US for a job, they're given an aptitude test or IQ test for a group of people. And in that IQ test, the first question was different to the other group. So the first question from another group they've asked was, where are you from, or what's your ethnicity? The second group, they've done the research, same IQ test, nothing different. It's just the first question they've asked, what's your gender? Now, after researching that, they have found out a pattern. The first group who said the ethnicity, they're from India, they're from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia, etc., their IQ score was significantly high compared to the other group who said our gender is female. Now, this is the magic, guys. So with this question, they have triggered an identity which actually has a whole different meaning. Now, Asian women, when you say IQ, Asian men and women both, we actually hold ourselves high because IQ knowledge is high. But when you say an Asian woman and going for a job and ask what's your gender, what triggered in that woman's mind was, I'm a woman, I might not be able to answer this question properly. So with this trigger, a negative psychology, that actually affects your critical thinking as well. Imagine this, the gravity of this entire problem. That's why it's absolutely crucial that you need to focus on your psychology first before you sell any product or service. That's why the coaches were, around the world, that they say, 80% of any success is mindset and 20% is the strategy. And I've seen this part of the world is actually 90% probably mindset, only 10% strategy. Because to be honest, I have seen the guys that have coached the sales forces as well as the top managers, corporate leaders, once have shift their mindset, the strategies that they put to close a sale was actually very few. So I have about 120 something recorded sales and negotiation strategies. None of my clients have so far put not even 20 to close some really high value products. As a result, you have video referrals you can see to prove under 90 days they have gone 128%, 200, 250% up in their sales. Not because I'm not saying I'm such an incredible person, so I could do that. I'm a magician. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying these techniques are powerful, but more so, the shift in your mindset is actually does the wonder. Once you go to that level, whatever the strategy you put, it is going to work with very less minimal force. So that's why you need to focus as a salesman, what's my psychology? And then comes, what do I actually believe about this product or the service? Now on the surface, you can say, yeah, I do believe in this product. Product is great. But what do you actually deep believe about the product or service? Do you think some other product is actually number one? We are actually number two. Now you might come and say, no, actually you're right. I mean, that other product is actually the number one. Now here's a little tip. Given the circumstances, given the features, and given the price, you can always say this product is actually the best for this clientele. So in that whole zone, that product is the best. That needs to accompany with continuously working, continuously optimizing your product. So that needs to go parallel. Because I'm repeating this because this is not some, woo-woo thing that you think about this product is the best and you let all the faults unnoticed in a half-cooked product. I'm not saying that. You need to work ridiculously hard at your product and service. You need to be very critical about the quality of your product or services internally, and then go out there and sell it with all in. Look at the product. Now, for instance, when Facebook first came to the world, 2007 or something, it became a worldwide thing. People thought, wow, that's it. All the other social media platforms are gone. There were Hi-Fi, there's Friendster, and so many other things are there. They've all kind of disappeared. And then now 16 years fast forward, when you look at the original Facebook, there are bookloads of faults in that platform. So nobody can really say this product is the number one or number two. It's about how much you believe and how aggressively you're going to go forward, okay? So that's the mindset. Now, like I said, the South Asia, also Southeast Asia, has a distinctively unique problem when it comes to this mindset, because these countries were once colonial countries. They were under rules of someone else. So for that, I need to go a big deep, about 500 years deep. Okay, let me take you to this country that I'm living in, Sri Lanka. 1505, the Portuguese landed in Sri Lanka. And by 1518, they managed to trick the king of that time. And they got the permission to build the fort in Colombo. Since then, they made tremendous impact and influence Sri Lanka politically, socially, trade, all sorts of ways. And in the end, they actually controlled the country, big part of the country, not all country, but big part of the country. They ended up controlling. Now, how did they do that? Just by trade and commerce? Absolutely no. No invader, no foreign invader can actually capture a country without crushing the spirit of the country. What they did, I'll give you a couple of examples. First, they destroyed one of the most venerated Buddhist temples in Sri Lanka, which is the Kalani temple. And then they destroyed the Koneswaram Hindu temple, one of the most revered Hindu temples in South Asia. They destroyed that on the 14th April, the Tamil New Year day. Why did they do that? Those are known strategies. And that's how they crush the spirit of a nation, because that's a place that where you go with all your faith, all your belief to kneel down and ask for help. And if some guys destroy that and nothing happens to them, what's going to happen to them? We are talking about nearly 400 years ago. People are not exposed. World is too big. They don't know these patterns. Inevitably, their spirit is going to get crushed. And then power went from Portuguese to the Dutch and Dutch to the British. At 1815, they conquered the entire country and controlled Sri Lanka for 115 or something years. And they left. Administration-wise, this part of the world, they got the independence, but the mindset-wise, we are still and we are yet to liberate ourselves. Now, someone might say, look, Rav, this story happened 70 years ago. We got independence 70 years ago. Two parts to this problem. One, we've been under colonial rule for 300 and plus years. We're looking at nearly 10 generations of your ancestors were under colonials. So these traditions, the cultures, the beliefs, the behaviors passed on from one generation to the other. And secondly, even the 70 years, they have something called NeoColonialism, where they use power directly and indirectly to keep the control of the old colonial states. NeoColonialism. That happens in a gigantic way. Subtle and sometimes not so subtle. That's something for you to go and search and find out. So in essence, we're still kind of under the colonial rule in indirect way. So that's why we as Asians, we need to develop this new identity to liberate ourselves. Think like, you know what, if this is so hard, it's been happening for 300 something years, how do you do that? Let me share the psychology part of this. This is a known thing called the chain elephant syndrome. When they bring a baby elephant, what they do is, now this baby elephant is wild animal, right? Humans bring these creatures for their use. So they bring and they would put a chain around a baby's one leg and stick it in a hook. Now this baby elephant, although it's a small baby elephant, if he struggles, he can break the chain. And he often try to do so. Every time he try to do that, there are a couple of people surround this baby elephant and beat him with clubs until he stop trying to break the chain. When you stop it, they stop their beating as well. So this is also known as the crushing period. At the end of the crushing period, this baby elephant realized trying to break this chain is actually a lot of pain. So I'm not going to do that. Every time you think of breaking the chain, it gives me nothing but pain. So now, later on, this elephant becomes a big, gigantic tusker. He can break this chain in a whisker, but he'll never do it because he's been conditioned, you're not capable of breaking this chain. This is exactly what happened to the entire Asia. Your spirit has been crushed, not for a little time, but for 300 plus years, nearly 400 years now. But here's a secret. It's only a mindset. You're just one strong decision away, breaking free from this entire darkness. Just one strong decision away. If you realize, I'm pretty sure you're so warmed up, you're probably thinking, wow, it makes sense. I want to break free. You just have to decide, I'm going to break from this right now. And I'm not going to think that I'm inferior to anyone else in the world. Like I said, we need to create a new identity. This new identity, I would start with this. I would start with, we are not inferior to anyone else in the world. Honestly, think about it. Who are you before another ethnicity? Who are you before an Englishman or a European? If you really answer these questions, the truth will surface. So you need to redefine yourself thinking or saying, I'm not inferior to anybody else in this world. Okay, this colonial thing happened not by us guys. It happened to our great ancestors. Okay, it's none of our business. So you can break free from this. We're living in a new era. This new era, we need a new identity. So I'm not inferior to anybody. I'm a superior human being. Same time, you should actually by all cost avoid thinking that anybody else is inferior to you, because it's going to be an ego trip and it's going to project from yourself and you're going to be very unpopular and unattractive person. Because that's not my intention here. My intention here is to raise your state of being and put yourself in your rightful position. Now, you might wonder, still, I'm sure a lot of people that still have this inner conflicts, but Ramindu, these Europeans, they have this great confidence. I hear people say, but they're in a different level, Ramindu. They have this whole conviction and confidence. You need to understand their history. A lot of people kind of deceive themselves If the skin is white, they're probably great confidence. Nothing to do with their damn skin. Again, nothing to do with their geography, nothing to do with their language. It's largely and almost everything to do with how they actually been brought up and given a new identity. And this whole thing actually started about 600 years ago. Again, we need to go back to history. The time of the Age of Enlightenment is also known as the Age of Reason. So they means the Europeans started questioning everything what they've been doing. Now, there was a time that the church actually put enormous pressure on the public. You're not allowed to do any scientific experiments. You're not allowed to change the culture, even for marrying, not marrying, all sorts of things. The church had a say. In fact, they basically killed people. They put people in, imprison people, and did a lot of things to stop people doing experiments. And there was a time that through the form of art, a lot of the Europeans started expressing their concerns and started questioning these old ways. And then later on, the scientists, the doctors, the engineers, the thought leaders, the philosophers, all sorts of people started joining this whole movement in entire Europe. Kind of started as a spark and became a huge wildfire. And this whole Age of Enlightenment was born. And they break free from all sorts of cultural limitations that they had. Because they started questioning. One of the things that happened was in the case of Great Britain, they used to buy spices from Spain. Now, spices was actually a household item even in the 16th century in the UK. It was a popular item. Cardamom, all sorts of things are just a household, very known item, and it's actually a huge business. So, and they found out they actually buy the spices from the Spanish for a high price, and they realized they've been ripped off. It's overly priced. Because the Spanish bought the spices from the Turks bought the spices from Persians, and the Persians bought the spices from the Indians, the old spice route. So then they decided, why don't we take a risk and started sailing around the African continent. The Portuguese sailed, followed by the Dutch, and then, as always, English benchmark everything and followed these guys. The first stock market was actually born as a result of that. People don't want to risk this entire fleets sending to an unknown destination, so people got together and reduced the stakes. So people bought shares of the value of the ship. So in return, if they bring spice, they will have a percentage of their profit. So that gave the birth to the British or the Dutch East India Company. And later on, the entire thing was modeled by the British, and that became the British East India Company. They came over to this part of the world, to India, to the Indonesia, and the Sri Lanka. They landed here, started trading, and then these spice merchants actually captured these gigantic lands, controlled, changed their names and their culture, and left. This is what happened. So it actually happened because of Age of Enlightenment, because of Age of Reason. Now the time has come for us Asian to do the same. Start questioning your beliefs. Start questioning the things that make you inferior in particular, and replace it. This thought revolution, we need to start now. So we are already kind of late. We need to start now. And if you start that, if you actually absorb what I'm saying and start questioning, that alone is going to slowly liberate yourself as we move on. Let me give you 2 Asian examples to put you in a different zone. Number 1, South Korea. I visited there in 2018 and for a business meeting. So I actually went around and learned a lot of things, and I was really impressed. I must say, one of the countries that I was impressed the most was their development in such a short span. Now, South Korea, in 1955, they started their journey ending the war with North Korea as one of the poorest countries in all of Asia. Actually, they were even poorer than even some of the African countries in 1955. Fast forward 30 years, one generation later, they are hosting the Olympics as a developed country. When I went there in 2018, they were in all different levels. I was questioning myself, which city is more advanced, London or Seoul? They're so advanced. People are rich in thinking and the behavior and the discipline and whole vision and philosophy that they had. All that happened under one generation. Every Asian country is actually capable of doing it. And one of the things that I asked from gentleman, he said, well, we started changing everything, meaning how we eat, how we wear, how we think about business, how we produce something, our discipline, how we sleep. We changed everything. We looked out for the rest of the world and we modeled it. That's exactly what you got to do. Now forget about this, the doing it as a country. I'm talking to you. You as an individual, turn around and ask yourself, what are the areas that I need to change immediately for me to change my identity and go forward? Case study 2, Sri Lanka. 2004, tsunami hit Sri Lankan shores and almost destroyed Sri Lanka tourism to the ground. 30,000 people something died. One of the most horrible incidents that Sri Lanka and the rest of South Asia had to face. Now, a lot of the people, a lot of the documentaries were made as well, saying that, hinting these lands are gone. Sri Lankan tourism is gone. I don't think it will, bounce back ever. Fast forward to 2010, Sri Lanka became known as one of the top 10 destinations to travel, top 10 beaches to surf, top cultural sites to see. The beauty in the compactness. You can see the biggest land mammal and the biggest sea mammal within a day. That's incredible tourism prospect that we had. We started hitting 1 million. In no time, we actually hit 2 million and we went 2.5 something million in the span of a few years. All that happened under 6 years. 6 years ago, in 2004, where were we? If you've been teleported to that time as a real estate agent, knowing that Sri Lanka is going to go to these heydays in 2010, how convinced are you to sell those lands at a premium rate? Now, this is the mindset I want you to cultivate in a time of crisis, in a time of economic downturn, knowing that something great about happen in the future and challenge that. So these are the 2 case studies that I want to share. Now, the mindset, the entire video is about mindset. My next video is coming up focusing on the strategy. But like I said, the mindset first, strategy comes second. And if you're watching this, after that, watch and look forward to see that strategy session. So if you watch this video this far, I must congratulate you, which means you have the fire and you have the discipline. So well done. You watched this for a reason. The reason is your time has come. Your time has come to liberate yourself finally. So take action right now. Live with spirit.